shot. Stefanovic from deep. Wide open. And again makes it look easy. Ninth turnover committed by Winston alone. That's Hunter. It'll be the largest victory.
Good evening and welcome. It is the Matt Painter Show. Time to talk Boilermaker basketball here over the next 55 minutes or so. And I hope you can enjoy these next 55 minutes because it will be the last 55 minutes of our Coaches Show this year. Believe it or not, we have found our way to the end of the Coaches Shows for this particular season. This is the final one of the year, and as you might imagine, we have an awful lot to talk about here before this hour is finished. We'll talk about Purdue's win, or wins, I should say, to be more correct, since we have last spoken last Monday. That was a Tuesday night win over Wisconsin at Mackey Arena. And then the regular season finale also at Mackey Arena this past Saturday afternoon, where Purdue beat Indiana. So we'll talk to the coach about both of those victories, and we'll look ahead, of course, to the Big Ten tournament. Purdue securing itself a 4 seed for the upcoming Big Ten tournament, which starts this week in Indianapolis. So Purdue knows it will not play until Friday at 2 o'clock, as a matter of fact. Whom Purdue's opponent will be, well, as of right now, there are three different teams that are in the running to play Purdue on Friday at 2. So we'll talk to Coach about that as well. A lot of things to get to. Zach Edey, earlier today, if you missed it, named Big Ten Freshman of the Week. Second time in his career that he's been named the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. And also the Boilermakers are in the top 20 this week in the AP poll. So lots of things to talk about with Coach Matt Painter, and we will visit with him when we come back. It is the Matt Painter Show, presented as always by GEMCO. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield IMG College.
Well, you've got to convert that. Williams bang it on Jackson Davis for 2. You let him get to hit. Edey's posting up Al Durham right now. See if they get it.
Durham's fighting him. Look at the job. Too soon. That was unfortunate. Seeing him encourage his teammates, a really good sign for Indiana. And now you go back to maybe the lowest percentage shot of the afternoon.
Durham got pancaked. Stefanovic, one extra touch. Open for Newman to knock down a 3.
The difference in looks on those two possessions.
According to the folks in Chicago, he's had a very nice season. Travion Williams, a spin. That's a tough angle.
Well, that doubles. It was a lot harder to throw. You had to be way more accurate.
I have a follow-up on that, but I'll wait for a stoppage. Ivey knocks down a 3. Purdue by 12.
Well, he is.
Hard thing to believe wants to move to the rim and scores.
The hard thing to believe about what the crowd said. I remember that we were down big and we ended up having to foul, and Coach Painter was yelling to foul. I had 4 fouls. I totally forgot. What a play. Unbelievable by Zach Edey. But I do not remember what the student section was actually.
Edey rolling to the rim to score.
That was so well done. You can see they're trying to go right at Jackson Davis.
Oh, Edey with a lethal follow. Stefanovic had a notion there. Hard drive by Wheeler, no. Edey over the top for 2.
He has gotten so much better.
He's going to go to 7-0 again.
Tonight, it's the final Matt Painter Show of the season as we visit with Purdue head coach Matt Painter, and, well, at least from a Coaches Show perspective, put the finishing touches on a Boilermaker basketball season. Of course, we don't anticipate the actual season itself ending anytime soon, but from a coaching show standpoint, this is their final show of the season. Thanks to all of you who have joined us, maybe if just for tonight or if you've been with us all season long. We are certainly pleased that you found a way to join us throughout the Boilermaker basketball season. I'm Rob Blackman. Purdue head coach Matt Painter is alongside. Since we've last spoken last Monday night, Purdue 2 more victories in its belt. The Boilermakers winning Tuesday night against Wisconsin, beating the Badgers 73-69, and then coming back Saturday and beating Indiana at Purdue's Mackey Arena by 9, 67-58. Coach Painter, let's, I guess we'll start with the Wisconsin game or work our way forward from there. Your bench played exceptionally well. Zach Edey especially playing well for you in that game. Actually, he had a great week, did Zach Edey. But Jaden Ivey also played at a high level for you in that Wisconsin game, and 2 freshmen that really were leading the way. The great irony in that is Wisconsin, as you know, is the oldest team in our league. Right. Yet it was the freshmen for the Boilermakers that were doing an awful lot of damage. Youngest team in the league versus the oldest, and yet Purdue played really well in that game, I thought.
Yeah, it was one of those games for us where, just trying to get, into some rhythm. Obviously, you mentioned how well Zach played. Jaden was 9 for 10 from the line. Had a couple really nice drives. I thought Aaron Wheeler, once again, was really good. He's had a great stretch here the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season, rebounding the ball, doing little things, knocking down threes. So it was just a really good team win, and it was just, it was one of those games similar to Indiana, even though we had a little bit more of a margin with Indiana, we just couldn't separate from them. Yeah. And you just couldn't put it together to get it to 3-4 possessions and push away from them. And but give them credit. We know Wisconsin is not going to go away. Obviously, they turn around and play Iowa at Iowa down to the wire yesterday. And but give our bench credit. And that's really something for us that has been great the whole season. It's hard to be consistent, when you get inconsistent minutes. It just is. And so, you're not worried as much about guys that come off the bench because it's, they're coming off the bench. They normally aren't going to get 30 minutes, but we've had some guys that come off the bench for us that have finished games. Aaron Wheeler's been finishing some games. Zach has been finishing the games, and that's a great sign. A lot of times people want to look at it to take away from the guys that are starting or take away from other people, when in reality, that's what encompasses a really good ball team.
And you made this comment. It was actually after the Indiana game Saturday when you joined us on the post-game radio show. You made the comment, paraphrasing here, that Zach forced your hand. Yes. And he did the same thing in Wisconsin. He's playing late in games because you can't, quite frankly, take him off the floor. He's doing so many good things for you.
Yeah, if you just try to keep it simple, a lot of times you get to the emotional piece because, Travion's done so many good things for us this year. But if you just take that game, each game when you're making those decisions, and just, Zach's good he was good on offense. He's good on defense. He was good rebounding. He makes his free throws. And so, when you get down to the end of the game, a lot of times people will be like, I'll do it sometimes with guards. People are like, man, why do you have that guy in there? He doesn't turn the ball over and he makes his free throws. And they'll just look at you like, okay, but the other guy's got more of this to his game. Well, at that point in the game, you need people that have discipline, that are solid. We just went back and watched, the Indiana game. Then, late in the game, we're having breakdowns defensively. We're just fortunate enough that they're missing shots. But we're not doing some things that we should be doing. We're putting people on the free throw line. We're getting behind plays. And so, at the end of the game, it's just a real tribute, to Zach, to Aaron, that they put themselves in those positions and they're able to stay in the game and help us win.
Does Isaiah Thompson, does he fit that description you're talking about? Because he seems to be a guy that's always in the game, late in the game when you're trying to protect the lead.
Well, he's got quickness and he can get open and he can make free throws. And so, that's the 2 free throws he made in the Wisconsin game were huge because he hadn't been in the game for – people don't realize, when you're not in the game for 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes of actual game time – that's like starting all over. And then all of a sudden somebody subs you in and you're like, you got to go make free throws. And he steps up and makes it. And those free throws were huge for us. But here in the past month and a half, he's been really good for us. And, he hasn't knocked down some of those shots that he's capable of making, but he's making some really good cerebral plays, and he's really helped us.
And I know you like him on the floor because he doesn't turn it over. Kind of like his older brother, P.J. Thompson. Why he always played a lot. Doesn't turn it over. Defensively, man, I would certainly be remiss if I did not talk about the effort from Eric Hunter Jr. against Demetric Trice. One of the best players in our league, Demetric Trice for Wisconsin, and yet again, I guess I should be used to it by now. Eric's been doing it all year, but Eric did a wonderful job on Demetric Trice and never really let him get going. And consider this, the game before, as you well know, against Illinois, he just scored 29 against the Illini, so he was coming in feeling good about himself.
Right. Yeah, went 2 for 10, and one of those field goals that he made was late. It was really late. It was a 3 that Eric flew by him on his backside, and he stopped and paused and ended up making that 3. But no, Eric's done a great job defending those guys. He did a good job, guarding Finney. We switched him up a little bit and put him on Durham, at times. But Eric's really done a great job, one of the best defensive players in our league.
You know what? For those who don't know Eric's background, to me this is what I find so amazing about him. He came from high school as a scorer. I think, I'd have to look this up, but I think he's the 7th leading scorer all time in the history of Indiana high school basketball. So he comes to Purdue as a scorer, and he has reinvented himself now as a defender, which is, man, you know, that's tough to do for guys that are used to scoring all the time.
Yeah, I think it's balanced. I think he's a good offensive player. You find out real quick, like, what can I do to stay on the court? If something else is not going, if my shot's not going, if my play offensively just isn't like up to snuff, like, what can I do to stay on the court? Like, don't turn the ball over, be able to defend, be able to rebound, sprint both ways, like have a great attitude, things like that. A lot of times guys, they want to come into college and they want that role. And as a coach, like, you're not trying to take that role from them, but they got to go out and be able to show, like, here's what I can do on a consistent basis against elite players, against really good players. And sometimes you're not going to be the focal point of what you're, of what a team's going to do. And now you got to be able to get into a role. And Eric's done a great job of accepting that role and being a great defender. But he's also done some really good things for us offensively.
More with Coach Painter in a moment. It's the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO. And this is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield IMG College.
The country's best basketball rivalry, and that is IU and Purdue.
We're at home. Who cares if there are fans in the building or not? This is our court. You got to take care of home.
All right, build walls in transition.
This is where your pride has to come in.
Have post awareness. We want resistance. We want to knock it out. We want to make it difficult.
Purdue and Indiana. It's always a good one.
All right, let's be hooked up, guys. Let's go.
On the final play of the first half. Blocked by Brander. Back to Travion. A give and go. Reverse layup. Good. Jaden Ivey. He'll shoot a three. Yes, sir. Triple time.
God, Arceus baptizing the masses.
Oh, my
goodness. Hey, this game is not for the weak.
To Dakota, shoots a three.
bullseye.
Not always pretty. We hung in there. All right. Played good D. All right. Made it difficult on them. You guys have now, no matter what, has put yourself in with a double bye. We set our narrative. The one thing you have to know at this time of the year, man, you gotta be able to dream. All right. But you also got to be functional in what we're doing. We've been pretty functional in what we're doing, but we got to get better. Okay. We got to get better. All right. Just keep working on things. Keep getting better. We're getting a lot of production from a lot of different people. And that's what a good team's about. All right, just got to keep our heads, keep working, keep plugging, all right, and be excited about playing, some more games. But we put ourselves in a good position. All right, let's keep working, let's keep getting better. All right, let's go, stack it up.
And welcome back, everyone. Matt Painter Radio Show here on a Monday night, final show of the season as we talk Boilermaker basketball with a Boilermaker head coach. It is Purdue now awaiting their opponent on Friday. We know this much. Purdue's the 4 seed for the upcoming Big Ten tournament. And we do know that Purdue's playing at 2 o'clock or close to that at Lucas Oil Stadium Friday. What we do not know is the opponent, and won't know that obviously until on Thursday night. Boilermaker fans, now's your chance to purchase new football season tickets. All ticket prices in the bowl of Ross-Ade Stadium remaining unchanged for the 2021 season. There have been several upgrades throughout Ross-Ade Stadium fans will be able to enjoy, including the South End Zone, video board, cashless concession, and mobile ticketing. Visit PurdueSports.com for more information, and we look forward to seeing you in Ross-Ade Stadium this fall. Not really that far away, fans, from that season opener against Oregon State that first Saturday in September here in West Lafayette. But for now, we talk Purdue basketball. We were visiting last segment about the victory over Wisconsin last Tuesday. We did talk a little bit about the win Saturday against Indiana, but we'll go a little bit more in depth on that now. Another great game for Zach Edey, 20 points, 9 rebounds. Jaden Ivey, another good game, 17 points for him in that contest. Coach, you mentioned it a moment ago, and I think it's worth noting. It's not as if maybe Purdue was great defensively Saturday. There were some missed assignments that led to some wide open shots for Indiana, but those shots didn't go in, and Purdue was happy for that.
I think the one thing that jumps out for us was our ability to rebound. We did a better job than Indiana rebounding the basketball, positive 13. Obviously the turnovers, we're fortunate they turned the ball over too, is what we definitely have to be able to clean up. But yeah, we had some breakdowns. I didn't think we were very good against Indiana at their place defensively, and I didn't think we were very good in this game either. And they caused some matchups, obviously, with Trace Jackson Davis, but for the most part, it was more of just concentration or lack thereof, and we had some breakdowns. Fortunate, like you want to keep the ball out of the paint, and if we are going to make a mistake, we'd rather them have a contested jump shot than obviously a drive or a deep post up. So just things you got to keep working on. I think as a coach, you're never satisfied. You might be looking at things, but for the most part, you're going to get beat if you have that many breakdowns. You just are, and we have to work at being better on the defensive end.
Well, we talked in the earlier segment about how good your bench has been as of late. Man, talk about them giving you yet another lift on Saturday. That game starts, Purdue's down 7-0 in the first 4 minutes of the game. Purdue is 0 for 4 shooting in the first 4 minutes of the game with 4 turnovers. Yeah. And it was at that point where you said, yep, this isn't working. Let's try some other guys. And they gave you a lift. Aaron's come in, make that 3 right away. Zach came in and gave you a bucket right away, and then you kind of seemed like you were off and going. Yeah, we weren't getting deep position in our post-ups. We were careless with the basketball. We had a couple, just errant passes that we just should have never made. And then, Aaron comes in, like you said, and sticks that 3. We're able to get a little deeper position down on the post and cause some more problems for them, and then quickly got that turned around. But, that's kind of what we've talked about here in the last couple of weeks. When you have that depth, it's a great thing to go to. If guys aren't, performing, or guys just aren't productive, you move to that next guy, and he is. It's the best motivator. It's the best motivator going forward when someone's out there and they're playing, especially guys that get established. They get established, they've played well, and it's like we still got to play the guys that are going to give us the best chance to win. That gets everybody to put in more time, work in practice, be more detailed, and listen a little bit better. I think sometimes as you win some games, some things get kind of, I don't know if it's a conscious thing, it's probably more of a subconscious thing, but a competitive athlete, now you're winning, you're doing great, and you're still making mistakes. You still have to shore up those mistakes and get better and keep working on your game. And so it's really, makes for a healthy environment of just getting better. More with Coach Painter in a moment. It's the Matt Painter Radio Show. It's brought to you by GEMCO. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield, IMG College.
Let's go, get loose. Let's go. Hey, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's a great day to get better. Set. Set. Go. Club and flip. Good. Next guy, get up and ready. Go.
I think I'm definitely a hands-on coach. I think a lot of guys would probably call me an old school type of coach. I think if I were to look at some of the things that I really believe in, I think playing football in the Big Ten requires a lot of toughness, both mental and physical. I'm a big technician. I always haven't coached the most talented guys, so I've always believed that you've got to be great from a technique standpoint. And I just think your effort, I think that's really part of your resume as a football player, your relentless effort that you put on video. So I would say it's those 3 things.
Now I'm coming off the left. Same thing. I got tackle's arm. I'm going to chop. All right, get low. All right, I'm going to explode off the backside. Secure the tackle. Tomahawk the outside. Here we go, sit. Coop. Good, great rep. Great rep, sit. Coop. Good. Get that outside arm down, sit. Coop. So as I separate off this guy, knock him back. So when the ball gets out in front, I can be violent. All right, stay on the backside hip. What I want to see lower body wise. What I want to see you do. Run your feet. Run your feet, here we go.
I just cherish those 9 years under Coach Tillery. Allowed me to really grow as a coach. Was part of a great staff every year that I was here. Just like I say, just was really able to grow as a coach, a young coach, and developed a lot of my philosophy that I've taken, with me these past.
Painter Radio Show presented by GEMCO. Electric Plus is powering boiler country with offices in Lafayette, Avon, Kokomo, and Bloomington. Choose Electric Plus to be your best electrical contractor, period. For more information, visit electricplus.com. Purdue head coach Matt Painter alongside as we do tonight, bring you the final Coaches Show of the year. Coach, I asked you this in the post-game show Saturday. I'll ask again. Purdue is on a 5-game winning streak going into the Big Ten tournament. No other team in the Big Ten can lay claim to that. Purdue winning 5 in a row heading into the tournament. So the question I asked Saturday, and again I'll re-ask, do you feel like your team is playing its best basketball right now at this time of the season?
Yeah. It's who you play, and so sometimes people like, oh, you're on a winning streak, or you're not. You're still like, we played. Obviously, our last 2 games at home. So anytime you play at home, it's going to benefit you. I do think we're playing well, but I also believe that we can play much better, especially from a turnover standpoint and a defensive standpoint. But we have to do a better job of taking care of the ball and not being loose and turning the basketball over. And like I said earlier, we have to be better defensively. So, but it is our best winning streak of the season. We had the 4-game winning streak before we got beat by Michigan. Obviously we have a 5-game winning streak right now, and you want to be able to build off of that. We know it's going to be tough in the tournament, but sometimes things can go your way, and it's all of a sudden you have a loss coming. And sometimes you can lose and you feel like California's going off in the ocean when it's really just sharpening you and you're going to be able to play good basketball. So as a coach, it's just trying to get them to understand from a competitive standpoint and a practical standpoint about how we need to play, but also what we need to do and just the discipline of things. When we're a disciplined team, man, we have a lot of fun. You just do. You just keep doing your job. You just keep battling. You're going to have more fun. When you get a little loose with the basketball or you break down defensively or whatever, sometimes people don't make you pay. And sometimes they do. Then the ball just doesn't go in. And people say, oh, you guys were good on defense, when in reality you weren't. And so like we have to make these improvements. We just have to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes when you win a lot of games in a row, you're just not honest with yourself in terms of really what's going on. And then sometimes you're like, when you lose, you're just too hard on yourselves because like maybe you did everything in your power and the other team was just really good, made their free throws, didn't turn it over, made big shots, and you're just the wrong time, wrong game, wrong night, however you want to look at it. But so for us, it's going to be, we just got to have productive practices. But all of our practices this week are going to be before we know who our opponent is.
Yeah.
So, but the most important team is always your team, and that's what we need to fix.
Well, you mentioned the turnovers needing to improve. I think that you just look at the stat sheet, you could say, yeah, that makes sense. But you mentioned defense, 15 straight games, 15 straight. Yeah. So you end the season 15 straight games without an opponent scoring more than 72. Most folks from afar, including myself, would say you've been great on defense.
Right.
But you say, no, there's room for improvement.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. You just gotta watch the tape. You gotta grade the tape. It's not to say that good things aren't happening, because they are. It's not to say that we're not better than we were, at the start of the season, because we are in that area also. But you just have to, however you go out schematically and you say, okay, here's how we're gonna guard certain action. You got to be able to do that. You simply have to be able to do that. And if you don't consistently do that, sometimes a normal fan or somebody that doesn't understand how we're defending things, they don't realize that. They just see hits and misses.
Right.
And so it's like, so we're doing good things, we're making strides, but we're still, we have some guys that are just making the same mistake over and over. And, you can't, I always say that at the end of the year, if you're a young person and you're a freshman and you're making those mistakes, you're really not a freshman anymore. You got to be able to push through some of those things. Now, if you're a junior, if you're somebody doing, that's who you are.
Yeah,
that's who you're not. You just got to manage that and deal with it as a coach. You can watch tape, you can drill things, you can do it. But if you got someone who's been in your program for 3 years and they simply won't do some of those things, it's going to hurt your team. It's going to hurt some of those minutes. But when you got guys that are, and that's why some people will look at you like, man, why do you play this guy so much or that guy so much? He does his job. He does what he's supposed to, and he definitely does it better than the guy he's competing with or the guys he's competing with. Sometimes it's just relative. You'd be like, well, he made this mistake and that mistake. Well, at the end of the game, if you go back and compare through the year, who's making and who's the most consistent, who's making those positive plays, that's the guys that you're going to stick with. And then the trust value comes in. You got to have trust in guys, especially late in the game.
I want to circle back to, you said something that really caught my attention. You talked about by the time you're a junior, if you're still making the same mistake, that's who you are, as you said. In your coaching career, have you ever had a guy that maybe that junior and senior season made and a leap that was so large where they really changed their game from junior to senior? Or has it always been what you're talking about? Basically, by the time you get to your time you're junior, you are what you are.
And you know, sometimes you get guys late, like you don't have them their freshman and sophomore year, and so it takes a little bit of time because you're trying to kind of figure out some of the fifth-year guys. Like I didn't have a great pulse on those guys because I haven't been around them for 3 years. Now this is just their last year. Or maybe 2 years, and now it's hard to get a pulse on those guys. When they're younger and you recruit them and you spend time with them and you grow and try to help them and develop, you get a feel for how they are, but you also had a feel for where they started. Yeah. And so then there's some guys that struggle in certain areas, but they're so good in other areas, they're going to play. Because the pros outweigh the cons. Like, you know, if you get someone who's just a dynamic scorer, but they can't check anybody, well, if you can average 20, 25 points, you're probably going to play through some of that. You don't like to, but if somebody can go and get you 10 to 12 rebounds and they struggle in other areas, you know, anytime, this is something I talk to young guys about, anytime you can be the best at something on your team, you're going to help yourself. You know, if you're the best rebounder on your team, you're probably going to play. If you're the best defensive player on your team, you're probably going to play. If you're the best offensive player on your team, you are going to play. You know, and so like, but if you get guys that just say, absolutely, this guard does not turn the basketball over whatsoever. You know, he's got the best assist turnover ratio in the league. He's going to play. Like that's such an important piece. So it's always good to kind of understand things, because players, before they mature, they'll look at it and say, well, this guy's making a mistake, and it's a bad way of looking at things. It's just it's a very narrow-minded, you know, vision, and you can't have that. It's a team sport. You got, well, this guy gets to make mistakes and that guy gets to make mistakes. You know, it's what people around you will say, and it just doesn't add up. You got to take the full body of work, but you also got to take, okay, here's my guys, here's my main guys. Who's going to fit in with my main? These guys are going to play. Like, they're going to play. Like, but who's going to fit in with them? The guys that can get that from role definition. You see it in the NBA all the time. You're like, how do these guys play? Well, he's fitting in with LeBron James, or he's fitting in with Kevin Durant. He's fitting in with Kemba Walker, because those are the best players on those teams. And now you need the people around them that help those guys, but make for a great team on both ends of the court.
More on the Coach Painter Radio Show when we return. It's brought to you by GEMCO. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield IMG College.
No matter the year, it's always a tall task to come into Rec Hall. No matter the amount of fans, we've got a fun one. 10 versus 11. Up left side, down the seam for the kill. Blocked again as Purdue leads 11-9. Blocked. Johnny Parker is stuck. What a time to come up with the block for Trammell and Chin. Marissa Hornung with the kill. Boom! Adds it. For the first time since 1982, Purdue beats Penn State in 4.
Leading the way. And right scores the bell all the way. Ring it up, Purdue.
It's the Matt Painter Show presented by GEMCO, our final show of the season. Postseason play begins for Purdue this coming week, Friday to be exact, roughly 2 p.m. Boilermakers will be in action from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Purdue is the 4 seed, earning the double bye. Purdue is playing at 2 o'clock Friday against either Ohio State, Minnesota, or Northwestern. Minnesota and Northwestern will play Wednesday, with the winner to face Ohio State Thursday, and then that winner to face Purdue on Friday. Coach, you talked a little bit about this a moment ago, but I would like to get your thoughts on the fact that you are, and not like this is uncharted waters for Purdue. Typically, Purdue is in this very scenario where you're not playing until Friday of the Big Ten tournament. But how do you prepare, not knowing who your opponent's going to be until actually Friday?
Well, you know,
Friday 2 o'clock. I mean,
yeah, you work on yourself, like the things that we've discussed already on this show. You know, you work on those things. You try to shore up those things. You try to get yourself ready, you know, to play no matter who you were playing. And it's you know, it's how you get into those exempt tournaments. And you know, the NCAA tournament, you always have a day in between. But for this, it kind of helps you. It's your first game, but you don't know who your opponent is until about 24 hours, a little bit less, before you go out. So it's simply what you do, and we have enough. You know, we have to have guys in the right frame of mind, getting ready for it, because, you know, you get a lot of attention. Like, you know, we're going to have some all-conference awards come out. Like, we're going to have, you know, we're going to have some people on those teams, and it's like, and that's great because we've won. And anytime you win as a team, you're going to have some individual awards, but we also have to get ready to play, you know, on Friday. And then, you know, hopefully we've taken a couple days off here. We've tried to give our guys as much time throughout the year when we can. And so we gave them 2 days off. We gave them Sunday and then today, and then we'll get back. We'll have like a workout tomorrow, and then we'll have, you know, 2 practices Wednesday and Thursday. And, you know, you want your guys to be mentally sharp, but you also want them to be fresh.
From a scouting report perspective, I can assume you just, from a coaching standpoint, you just put together 3 scouting reports, and after Wednesday you throw one of them out, and after Thursday you throw another one out. And
exactly.
Kind of how it works.
Exactly. You know, work on yourself. Be ready for, you know, whoever's coming your way. The thing is, obviously, that, you know, you look at it and you say Ohio State's favored, and Ohio State's a good team, and but Ohio State got beat by Northwestern this year, and Ohio State got beat by Minnesota this year. Yeah. Obviously, both games were on the road. You know, for them, and this will be a neutral game, but you're not dealing with you're dealing with a really good team in Ohio State, but they've also lost 4 straight. Mm-hmm. And now you look at these 2 teams that obviously Northwestern has won 3 straight. Minnesota's had the injuries to Kalsher and Robbins, and they've hit a little bit of a slide, but they don't have, you know, a full crew. But we all know how talented Marcus Carr is, so we'll do it exactly how you said it, and just try to have our team prepared no matter who we're playing.
It's the Matt Painter Show, presented by GEMCO. More after this break. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield IMG College.
Let's go, get loose. Let's go. Hey, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's a great day to get better. Set. Set. Go. Club and flip. Good. Next guy, get up and ready. Go. Flipping the hip.
I think I'm definitely a hands-on coach. You know, I think a lot of guys would probably call me an old school type of coach. You know, I think if I were to look at some of the things that I really believe in, you know, I think playing football in the Big Ten requires a lot of toughness, both mental and physical. I'm a big technician. You know, I always haven't coached the most talented guys, so I've always believed that you know, you've got to be great from a technique standpoint. And I just think your effort, you know, I think that's really part of your resume as a football player, your relentless effort that you put on video. So I would say it's those 3 things.
Now I'm coming off the left. Same thing. I got tackle's arm. I'm gonna chop. All right, get low. All right, I'm gonna explode off the backside. Secure the tackle. Tomahawk the outside. Here we go, sit. Hoop. Good, great rep. Great rep, sit. Hoop. Good. Get that outside arm down, sit. Hoop. So as I separate off this guy, knock him back. So when the ball gets out in front, I can be violent. All right, stay on the backside hip. What I want to see lower body wise. What I want to see you do. Run your feet. Run your feet, here we go.
I just cherish those 9 years under Coach Tiller. He allowed me to really grow as a coach. I was part of a great staff every year that I was here. Just like I say, just was really able to grow as a coach, a young coach, and developed a lot of my philosophy that I've taken with me these past 10, 12 years.
Purdue Boilermakers ending the regular season 18-8, 13-6 in the Big Ten. Purdue was not able to play a 20th game. That was that early January game when Nebraska was supposed to come to Purdue. Nebraska was not able to make that trip because of COVID concerns from their end, and that game was never rescheduled. So Purdue ends up playing 19 conference games this season and finishing 13-6 in the conference. On that note, Coach Painter, I would like to publicly acknowledge you, your staff, your players, everyone in that inner circle, that inner bubble, if you will, with Purdue basketball, for making it this deep into the season and having, quite frankly, no hiccups. I mean, other than the Sasha Stefanovic 3-game miss because of a COVID-19 positive test. And I bring this up because as I was watching some college basketball last weekend, just looking at the ticker on the bottom of the television screen, Coach, there were teams across the country in Division I basketball that had records of like 4-7 or 5-8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they only played 12 or 13 games all year.
Right.
But your team, as I said, got every game in except one, and that wasn't your fault. I mean, you should be commended for that.
Yeah, our guys did a great job. Chad Young, our trainer, Elliot Bloom, our Dobo, they were really the maestros behind everything of helping us, learning from other people's mistakes. I think that was a key for everybody to really do their work. Football comes before basketball, and their numbers are so much greater. But learn from them. Learn from. One of the big things was not eating on planes, not eating on buses. The other thing is wearing your mask in the office around other people that you work with. Just do some basic, simple things and learn from some of the other experiences before you're going to have them. And that's what Elliot and Chad did such a great job with our program. But it really comes down to it. I always say that about, the game of basketball. It's a player's game. There's no such thing as a great coach and bad players. I mean, I'm yet to meet that person. You got to have guys that can play the game and understand things. But in this situation, you got to have guys that will buy in and sacrifice. Guys all across the country really sacrificed this year and made good decisions to help out their team, help out their school, and give themselves a chance to play. And our guys were at the top of that list.
And you think about, look, it's such a unique year for everyone involved, everyone, without question. But just think about, your players, those student athletes. Just one more thing you put on their plate, and hey, you have to do this every day. I think back when I was college age, I'd have been like, no way, man.
Yeah.
This stinks. But they did it. Again, they should be commended. And congratulations to the players that they went through the extra hassle. I think that's the best way to put it. It had to be a hassle for them.
Yep.
But if you really love the game and you want to do what's best for your team, then you make those sacrifices.
Yeah, 100%. Those guys really sacrificed, and our staff did a great job, our medical staff, our training staff, our coaches. But, the real sacrifice comes from our players.
Yeah. One more segment here with Coach Painter. When we come back, we'll look ahead to that Big Ten tournament, and also want to talk just a little bit about how the Big Ten actually did shake out when it was all said and done, now that the regular season is over. That's coming up next. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield IMG College.
No matter the year, it's always a tall task to come into Rec Hall. No matter the amount of fans, we've got a fun one. 10 versus 11. Up left side, down the seam for the kill. Blocked again as Purdue leads 11-9. Blocked. Johnny Parker is stuck. What a time to come up with the block for Trammell and Chin. Marissa Hornung with the kill. Boom! Adds in. For the first time since 1982, Purdue beats Penn State in 4.
GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor for the Matt Painter Show. They're a proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, boiler up. And a huge thank you to GEMCO Constructors, as once again all season long they were our supporting sponsor of the Matt Painter Radio Show. All right, Coach, so the regular season is in the books. Michigan is the regular season champion. Illinois Obviously finishes second, Iowa third, Purdue 4. We all do this as fans, right, before the season even begins. We kind of have our little predictions, whether we say them publicly or not, about who we think can win the league, who will win the league, who will be the best team in the league. Did you think Michigan would be the team when it was all said and done, when we all started this back in November? Do you think they would end up being the Big Ten champions?
Well, I knew how good Hunter Dickinson was.
Yeah.
You know, we had recruited him really hard. So I knew that. He wasn't getting the respect. And a lot of times people won't give that to a freshman who's unproven, but I really thought that him, and then obviously I was a huge fan of Wagner and Livers, just their interchangeable offense and defensive approach. You know, just like it's really hard against those two guys. And then I didn't know about Mike Smith.
Yeah.
So like
right.
that was the one.
Right.
Like he was a scorer. His Columbia lost. They won like 6 games.
Right.
So he goes from a scorer and losing to running the point and winning. Like that's like. That's big time for the kid and just for the program. But no, I didn't see that, but I did think they were good. You know, obviously they beat us 2 times the previous year, so I did think they were good. You know, Michigan State got some bad breaks. They hit a little bit, you know, and so I'm always going to have them there. I'm always going to have Wisconsin there. I know they got 5th or 6th or whatever they got, but you're always count on Wisconsin. You know, just they're always just seems to be hovering right there. Obviously they won the league the year before, but I think everybody knew it was going to be a really tough league, and there'd be some people that could really pop up. Illinois, Iowa, like you knew they were going to be there with the crews that they had. So you knew it was going to be really competitive, and I'm just glad that we found our way and were able to win some games, especially some road games.
Well, look at this. The Associated Press poll comes out today, top 25, and so this is the final poll for the regular season. Illinois finishes 3rd in the country. Michigan 4, Iowa 5, Ohio State 9. You have 3 teams in the Big Ten in the top 5, 4 in the top 10. Did you think as a whole the league was going to be that good? Because those are some impressive rankings for one league.
Yeah, you thought Iowa and you thought Illinois. You didn't think Michigan and Ohio State as much, but you knew they were going to be good. Both of those guys obviously, proved to be really good, especially Michigan. You looked at Rutgers, and Rutgers was probably that next team, especially after we played them. Heck, they didn't even play their guys. Like, okay, Purdue's coming to town. We don't need to play Ron Harper Jr., and we won't play our starting center, and Caleb McConnell, maybe you sit one more game. We'll still beat these guys. Yeah. And so they just kind of like ho-hummed it, and a guy that doesn't make 3s hit 5, another guy that doesn't make 3 hit 3 of them, and they just we leave there disappointed, but we also left there feeling a lot closer to Rutgers, but also a lot further away. Like, I didn't know how to take that. Like, it was just one of those games where, like, they played it like the NBA East. Like, well, we won't play these 2 guys. We'll still beat you guys.
Right.
And so you're like, man, I think we could be okay. But we had such a tough schedule. Our first road game's Iowa, and then we go to Illinois, and then we go to Rutgers, and then we go to Michigan State, then we go to Indiana. And, we just had a tough start, but it was the best thing for us, and it really helped us in the long run.
Now, think about this. Purdue starts the Big Ten season 2-3 and finishes 13-6. That's a heck of a way to finish after your season starts at 2-3. From a player perspective, and I'm not talking Purdue, I'm talking just around the Big Ten, was there any player that surprised you that maybe ended up being better or improved more than maybe you thought he would have? I think we all knew Luka Garza, Ayo Dosunmu.
Right.
Those are the guys we knew coming in that, yes, this guy's going to be really good.
Well, I think our own guy, I think Travion, made strides from the year before.
Yeah.
I know he hasn't had a great finish here, but he had a great season and did some really good things, for us. For us, our younger guys, getting opportunities, and sometimes you might not have had those opportunities. You're on an older team. They got those opportunities. They took advantage of them, and now they can really grow with that. But no, I was just, kind of thinking, E.J. Liddell made a big jump.
Yeah.
Dwayne Washington made a big jump on their teams. You look at Livers and you look at Wagner. I already talked about, those guys. But I was just trying to kind of think along our league, who's going to be like second team all league, and some of the guys in there. Aaron Henry there at the end was really good.
Right.
He it's one thing, when I sit there and vote for things, is your team going to the tournament? I know some things get tough and sticky, but when you want to be all conference, your team should be going to the tournament, unless you're just in an impossible situation. But Aaron Henry, the way he played at the end, was really good because that's what he did. He had help. They had help, but still he was the leader of that crew, and they played really well down the stretch.
Well, final question here for you, Coach. Your freshman class, and by the way, earlier today, Zach Edey was named Big Ten Freshman of the Week. So he bookends the regular season. He's named Big Ten Freshman of the Week the first week of the year, Big Ten Freshman of the Week the last week of the year. So he was named Big Ten Freshman of the Week twice. Brandon Newman was named Big Ten Freshman of the Week twice. Jaden Ivey, I should say, also twice. And then Mason Gillis once. Did your freshmen surprise you a little bit in just how good they ended up being, or did you know all along they had they had it in them?
Well, obviously you evaluate and you get guys and you like them. I think we made a good decision to redshirt those two guys the year before. I think that definitely helped them. Obviously, Zach, made the most of his opportunity from day one, and then Zach really improved on things. Like Zach wasn't a good passer to start the season. Zach, fouled too much at the beginning of the season, and it's not even an issue the past 2 months.
Yeah, right.
It's not even an issue.
Right.
Like how many times has he thrown the ball away? How many times has he had that crazy arm hook above the head, elbow or whatever that he was having a lot in those first 4, 5, 6 games. So those improvements. Obviously, Jaden got more of an opportunity when Sasha, didn't play. Brandon Newman, made the most of his opportunity right away and did some really good things for us. Now he's got to kind of, adjust coming off the bench a little bit here, which is tough, which is a tough deal. So I voted for all of them for all freshman team. I'm biased, but I voted for Hunter Dickinson and those 4. Right, but there's also 2 or 3 other guys that, and that it just shows you how good of a league that we have, that you can only have 5 guys. There's probably 8 to 10 guys that deserve to be on that for all freshman team.
Our final segment of the Coach Painter Show coming up next. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield IMG College.
Loftus leading the way. Right, scores to Bell all the way. Ring it up, Purdue.
Final segment here of the Matt Painter Radio Show, and again, it's our final segment of our final show for this college basketball season. So thank you for joining us, fans. Maybe it was once, twice, all season long. However often you were able to check in on us, Facebook Live, or maybe just listening the old-fashioned on the radio, old-fashioned way listening on the radio. We do thank you for being part of our Purdue basketball broadcast on Monday nights this year as we talked Boilermaker basketball with the coach. Big thank you to Jeremy Knapp, who was our in-studio engineer today. Thanks to Corey Palm, who helped us out behind the scenes. Also, just a quick reminder now, Purdue playing 2 o'clock on Friday. 2 o'clock Friday, Lucas Oil Stadium, Big Ten tournament action, quarterfinal action. The Boilermakers are playing either Minnesota, Northwestern, or Ohio State. We obviously don't know that yet. We won't know till about 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, actually. But we do know this, our pregame show will start at 1 o'clock. Myself and Bobby Buckets Riddell will be on the air at 1 o'clock with a tip-off at 2 on Friday, and we'll all find out, obviously, who Purdue's playing on Friday as that Big Ten tournament gets underway. This copyrighted broadcast and exclusive presentation of Learfield IMG College under the broadcasting rights granted by Purdue University. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of Purdue Athletics and Learfield IMG College. Announcers are provided by Learfield IMG College and approved by Purdue Athletics. For Coach Painter, I'm Rob Blackman. Again, thank you so much for being with us all season long. This is Boilermaker basketball from Learfield IMG College.